Okay, guys, we're back this week. Y'all have any questions about what we went over last week? All of the stuff that we went over, federal courts, state courts, the appeals courts, any of that stuff?
Federal?
Any just general questions?
What's the highest court that a defendant can appeal to?
The U.S. Supreme Court is the highest. The absolute highest that you can go to is the U.S. Supreme Court.
So what's the criminal court of appeals then?
The criminal court of appeals is still, it's just like the court of appeals. The court of appeals is still the same, it's just a criminal case. So you have civil cases and criminal cases, okay?
But the Supreme Court doesn't hear, it's hard for them, it's hard for you to basically to have your case heard by them, right?
Yeah, I mean, like we were talking about last week, I think only 10% of the cases that actually apply to be heard get heard. So 90% of them get declined. So I mean, you know, you have to show that your case has merit. So I mean, that's why there's steps that you go through. I mean, you know, like I was telling you guys, you know, we have, you know, my judge is a magistrate judge. So they can de novo it to the district court, and then from the district court they can appeal it to the appeals court, and then from there it goes to the Texas Supreme Court, and then if they find merit, then they can go up to the U.S. Supreme Court. Okay? Any other questions about just general stuff? Okay, guys, like I told y'all last week, we have two guest speakers this week. Okay, we have Angie and Kristen. Angie's going to speak first. Angie is going to speak about freelance, all of the freelance stuff. So if you have any questions, she knows every answer, every. So no, I mean, if you have all the stuff that we've covered in the 36 chapters or 37 chapters that we've covered so far has to deal with freelance and official court reporting or whatever. So that's why I was telling you guys, you know, whenever you find something, highlight it in your book, because we're going to have the guest speakers. Well, the guest speakers are tonight, okay? So hopefully you wrote them down, or hopefully you remember them or whatever. So I'm going to let Angie speak first, kind of about, you know, what she does, kind of a day in the life of a freelance court reporter, from the time that she wakes up to the time that she gets that, you know, goes and takes the depot and then gets the depot out, okay? And I'll let her speak now. This is Angie.
Hi guys, thanks for having me here. I always love to talk to students and help y'all and answer any questions y'all have. I'm going to start with kind of the boring stuff first, which is I passed my test in 1985, so I've been reporting for 30 years now, and it just seems like time has gone by so fast. It's just incredible. And it's funny because most reporters that I talk to and that are my friends all have the 20 years, 30 years. And so there's a reason for that, obviously. Obviously we love our jobs. And so I applaud y'all for going into it because it's a great profession. So I've had a great time with it. I've worked here in San Antonio. I've worked in Corpus. I'm actually from Corpus, so I went to school down there at Delmar College, got my degree in associates in court reporting. And I've also worked in Dallas. I've also worked in Colorado. So different states obviously also have different rules and regulations. We, of course, here in Texas, you have to pass your state test to be certified and licensed. Colorado, you don't have to. So I went ahead and took my test in Colorado and passed, but they don't require it. So it's actually, different states have different rules. But aside from that, I've actually been working for Kim Tyndall. I started with Kim Tyndall and Associates back in 1986. And, life happened in between. So I kind of got married, got divorced, had kids. And so I'm back. I came back in 2010 and have been back with Kim ever since. So I'm going to talk about freelancing, and what I did was I brought some goodies for you guys too. So we mainly do depositions, and what that is, if for those of you that don't really know what a deposition is, for example, if you were in a car accident and it was the other person's fault, you're gonna sue the other person. So that other person that you're suing, they are going to request a deposition of you, which is you go to an attorney's office, you have both parties there, both their attorneys, and they're gonna ask you questions about that day, basically, and you're gonna be under oath. It's just like if you were in court, you get sworn in, the court reporter will swear you in, and they basically ask you questions, where were you coming from? How did the accident happen? Had you been drinking the night before? Were you texting? Were you on the phone? So they ask you everything they want to know about this accident, so that later on, when you do go to court, if you say something different in court, they can use this booklet. They can use your testimony that you swore to under oath at that time and say, wait a minute, you said back on the 21st that you didn't have anything to drink, and now you're saying you did. So they can use it to impeach you. They can use your testimony in that way. So I actually brought a deposition just so you can kind of see what it looks like at the end. I blacked out all the names, so HIPAA regulations. So if I missed one and you know that person, don't tell them that I saw your name in a deposition. So just kind of gives you an idea. So basically, what I do when I get ready to go on a deposition is the office will call me the day before and say, we have at 3 o'clock tomorrow, are you available? And I'll say, yeah, I can do that. Okay, great. So they will email me all the information with the notice, and the notice is it says the style of the case, it says where the deposition is going to be at, who's taking it, the attorney's names and addresses. So for me personally, and this has just worked for me, and I just did a deposition today, I keep a notebook. And in this notebook, I just write down the date, the cause number, the style, who the witness is, who the attorneys are. And I maintain these books, and I keep them for a while, and so I'm just starting a new one now. But that's worked for me. Every reporter is different, but that's worked for me in the past. And so I will get make sure that all my equipment and everything is together and ready in my little briefcase. Pick out what I'm gonna wear. Again, you wanna wear something professional. You don't wanna wear, anything too short or too, see-through. So we always, wanna look professional. We're gonna be, the good thing about freelancing is, and why I enjoy it, and I always say it's just a fun job, and it's been so much fun for me because I'm not in an office 9 to 5 every day with the same people every day. You're always in a different office. You're always meeting new people, seeing different people. You get a variety of things, and it's funny because a lot of people say that court reporting is one of the few professions where you really have to be an expert at so many different things, because we take testimony down that's medical malpractice cases, we're doing brain surgeries, we're doing any kind of surgical procedures that have been done that, somebody made a mistake or the hospital is at fault or a nurse, and so we have to know all of those terms, all those procedures, and whether it's medical, whether it's oil and gas. I mean, I'm working on a big case right now, and I can probably tell you, everything having to do with, how they have a well, and, all the little terms and all the what they call all the employees that are there. And it's just a different world where you are really inundated with all these terms, and you get to learn a lot about. I used to make fun and say, at least I know all the good doctors and all the bad doctors who not to go to. But you really learn so much about so many different areas, whether it's a car-related case. I took a case one time that had to do with this company would build vehicles that were bulletproof. And so just everything that goes into that is, was interesting to me. So at least we're always learning something different. And, like I said, we really have to be experts in so many different fields, not just one. So that was always interesting to me. The other thing I really, really like about freelancing, and officials, I mean, they both have so many pros to them. They're just different. But in my sense, in the freelance world, I've had a chance to travel. I've been able to I've gone to New York 3 times. I had one client who would set depositions up on a Friday and a Monday, so we could spend the weekend and go to shows, and so it was the attorneys, their spouses, myself, whoever else with their staff that would go, and so it's been fun and it's been nice. I've been able to stay at places that I wouldn't normally stay because they're so expensive, but they always like everybody to stay in the same place and go to the same office. And so I've been able to go, like I said, New York and California, Los Angeles, Phoenix, Washington, and they pay for everything. They pay for your hotel, they pay for your flight, they pay for your meals. So it's a really great profession. You get to, just travel, and if that's what you would like to do. The other good thing about freelancing is if I want to take a vacation next week, I can call the office and say, you know what, don't sign me out for anything. I mean, don't put me on anything next week because I have plans. I'm going to go to Las Vegas. And they'll say, okay, no problem, let us know when you get back. So that's always nice to be able to do. I don't have to requisition, I don't have to, make sure somebody covers for me. So I like that part of it. The flexibility for me really works out. And I don't have to have a deposition every day. I can work as much as I want, or I can work as little as I want. And so it's all really up to you. So besides that, when we go, so when I go to deposition, I get there. First thing I do is turn off my phone because that's kind of the worst thing, to have your phone go off. So I always remember to do that. You set up. I actually always leave an hour ahead of time because with traffic, you never know if you're going to be held up or not. I like to get there at least 30 minutes ahead of time. Just so you have the time to set up, you get your machine out, you get your notes. If you have to make any other notations down, you have the time to do that. Sometimes the conference room isn't ready, and so you have to wait a little while. And so, then they'll get it ready for you. You go in, but you allow yourself all that time to be able to do that. Let's see, we do that, and then once the attorneys start walking in and the witness gets there, I have all my notes out ready, and I always ask the witness how to spell their name. Because if you'll notice in the deposition that I have the example, her name was Jennifer. So you would think on the notice from the attorneys it had Jennifer. Well, when I asked her just to confirm how do you spell your name, she doesn't spell it like that. The attorneys didn't even catch that. She spells it Jeniffer, which I've never heard of, but that's how she spells it. And so you always want to confirm something like that because that can happen. So we get all that situated, and the attorneys are ready to go. And so as soon as they're ready, they'll let you know, and so you go on and swear the witness in. Once that happens, the attorney will start asking questions. During the process of the deposition, I don't know if y'all have learned about objections or not, but during the process, an attorney can object to a question that is being asked by the other attorney. So you always want to be aware that, because sometimes they'll end up talking at the same time. So I know kind of after you've done it for a little while, your brains are kind of used to having a little buffer, I'll say, and you can kind of catch up. I personally rarely ever interrupt attorneys. I will, there's a little part on your machine, a little button where you can make a note to go back. So I'll usually do that if I have a question over something. And it's so funny because out in the field, when you actually get out to working, there's so many more things that you learn that you don't learn in school. And, a funny thing happened to me on my very first deposition. And, I thought, okay, I've got it all down. I know what's going to happen. I know about objections. I know my speed is up and, comfortable. And so first, we go through the deposition, and I'm going, oh, this isn't so bad. I can do this. This is easy. Well, one of the attorneys says, as he's asking questions, he says, certify that question. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know if I had to get up. I didn't know if I had to, write something down. I really didn't know. Well, so I just said, sure, okay. And I just kept going. Well, after the deposition, I call my boss. I'm like, what does this mean? Did I do something wrong? Did I need to do something? She said, no. you know, you actually, when you're transcribing it and you're putting it in the booklet form, there's another little part that you have to put separately that also says certified questions, because that question by itself is going to go up to the judge to make a ruling on whether the witness needs to answer that question or not. But you'll learn little things like that that are just going to kind of come up, and you kind of learn as you go. So it's not a bad thing, you know. It always happens to us, and we try to answer all your questions, and so hopefully, you know, you'll be just fine. So we go through the deposition. After, you know, once the deposition is over, we will. I usually, if I have any questions, I'll double check my machine and see if there were any questions that I need to ask the witness to clarify as far as any answer that they gave. If I need a spelling of a name, I will ask them right then and there. That way I don't have any problems later when I'm transcribing. So I'll ask them whatever questions that I have already marked, and they'll spell them correctly. I make sure I have all the exhibits. A lot of times attorneys will get up and take exhibits with them. Well, I need to keep all of those exhibits. Throughout the years, we've had some new rules come into effect, and so now a new rule is that we cannot maintain an original exhibit. This morning, I had a deposition, and the witness drew a diagram. Well, I can't keep that because that's an original document. So now I have to have the attorney make a copy of it, and I can take the copy with me, and he has to maintain the original. So, you know, every now and then we get new things that come up, and so we just go with them. But yeah, that's definitely something that has just recently come up. So once I have all the exhibits together and I have everything, and then I will allow the attorneys to leave. I usually don't let them leave until I make sure I have everything. So they go. We usually, for a deposition, average time is anywhere from 7 to 10 days to transcribe it. And so for me personally, if it's a rush job, I will go home right after that. Usually I go home, I set it in my laptop, and I start working on it just because I want to get it done as soon as possible so I can have it ready, whether it's an overnight rush job, and that's happened before, or a 2-day. Our rush jobs go from 5 days down to overnight. We also get paid extra for that too, so that's always a good thing. So I get home, so because my time is so flexible, and I've got between 7 to 10 days to get this job done, we always work on our own time, basically. So because we don't have depositions every single day, I have the next day to work on it if I need to. The thing about freelancing is that you have that flexibility. For me, working in the evening is so much better working at night, which is how I've done it my whole career, because there's less interruptions. During the day, I need to go run errands, if I need to take my daughter to the doctor, this job works really well with that. You know, if you've got stuff that you need to do, of course, if I'm all caught up and I want to go to the movies or I want to go to the mall, I can do that. So I like being able to do that. But, so once we get done with the transcript editing, all we need to do is just email it into the office. They take care of billing it, finding it, printing it, delivering it. They take care of everything. So that's the good thing about being with the company, is that you don't have to worry about that stuff. You do the work, you transcribe it, and you send it off, and that's it. Unless you have exhibits, you got to go deliver those to the office. But other than that, I mean, that's pretty much a deposition, the process of it. I've had some really great depositions. I've had some really boring depositions. They run the gamut. There's been some very sad cases where you are on the verge of tears if, you know, somebody was hurt or a child was hurt. You know, you're never really going to hear great things. You know, I'm suing David because he sent me flowers to work. You know, you're never going to hear something like that. However, it's, you know, you're dealing with really professional people, and you're always in a great environment. So I've really, really enjoyed being a court reporter. I've enjoyed this job immensely because it's a great paying job. And just to kind of give you all an idea, if you want to know about prices, for depositions, we charge, a firm can charge anywhere from, I think the average rate is up to maybe about $4.15 a page for an original and a copy. So the attorney that's setting up the deposition is the one that's going to be paying for the original and a copy automatically. The person on the other side, or whatever other parties there are, can also order a copy. they get charged not as much because it's just a copy, but they get charged 1/3 of whatever your original price is going to be. So you still get paid for your original, and if they order a copy, you get paid for that as well. We get paid because we work with a firm and they're taking care of all the administrative. We get anywhere from 60 to 75% of that total bill. So they get their part for getting the job and for taking care of all the administrative. Now, if it's a medical deposition, we get paid extra. If it's a rush job, we get paid extra. If it's a video, we get paid extra. So you know, all these little things come into play. So also, if depositions can go anywhere from an hour to 6 hours. Right now, I think that's kind of the limit, is 6 hours per party. So we also get paid per hour, and that could be anywhere from $30 to $40 an hour. So on top of getting paid per page, you can also be paid per hour. So that kind of adds up as well. Do I have any questions up to now about anything? Yes?
How do you prepare for a case that you don't know anything about?
Okay, a lot of times what we do is if we like to, we get the notice ahead of time. So a lot of times we can call the attorney and say, you know, if you have a word list associated with this case, that would really help us, because then we can kind of write the words, how if they're long words, if they're medical terms, if anything having to do with that case, then at that point, you know, we can get that list ahead of time, and that's a big help. So a lot of attorneys, legal assistants are very willing to help out and do that, and you know, and it makes it go by quicker, because then we don't really have to stop at the deposition and ask them for these words or call them later. So that's a great idea, to go ahead and call ahead and, you know, ask for a word list. That can help. Anything else?
You say keep a notebook,
Mhm.
and so you keep that instead of your information sheet or the worksheet?
Yeah, well, different firms.
Or in addition to?
Yeah, different firms operate differently. We don't really have a worksheet that we go off of. You know, we'll get a copy of the notice. I did bring y'all some. This is a signature sheet, and what this is just where the attorneys sign that they want a copy of the deposition, that they agree that they are getting a copy. And we do that because there have been in the past sometimes when attorneys will say, no, I didn't order that, and so don't charge me. But they've already received it, and they've already made a copy of it or something. And so we have them sign this because we want we can say, this is your signature, you signed for this, that you did order it. So